Part 1. The Forgotten Relic. The crystalline spires of Selmar Prime glittered in the pale light of its twin suns, their surfaces refracting a kaleidoscope of colors across the alien cityscape. Zara Reeves stepped off the interstellar transport, her eyes widening as she took in the breathtaking view. The human engineer had traveled to countless worlds, but nothing quite compared to the ethereal beauty of the Xelnarian capital. The tall, slender figure glided towards her, its translucent skin shimmering with bioluminescent patterns. "Welcome to Selmar Prime, Engineer Reeves," the alien said, its voice a melodious trill. "I am Silo, your liaison during your stay." Zara nodded, shouldering her pack of specialized tools. "Thank you, Xylo. I'm eager to see this artifact you've contacted us about." Xylo's skin flickered with a pattern that Zara interpreted as hesitation. "Yes, the artifact. It has been a point of contention among our people. This way, please." As they walked through the city, Zara couldn't help but notice the curious and sometimes wary glances from the Xelnarians they passed. Humans were still a relatively new presence in the galactic community, and their rapid technological advancements had made some older species uneasy. "Your people seem a bit on edge," Zara remarked casually. Xylo's skin pulsed with a soft blue light. "We are uncertain about your involvement with the artifact. It is a relic of the predecessors, those who came before us. Many believe it should remain untouched." Zara frowned. "But your government contacted Earth specifically for help. Why, if there's so much opposition?" "Because," Tylo said, its voice lowering, "the artifact has begun to change, and not for the better." They arrived at a massive plaza, its center dominated by what appeared to be a colossal fountain. But instead of water, streams of light poured from its many tiers, creating intricate, ever-shifting patterns in the air. It was breathtaking, but Zara immediately noticed the problem. The light streams were flickering, sometimes sputtering out entirely before resurging. "This is the heart of Xelnar," Xylo explained. "It has stood here for over 50,000 years, long before our civilization rose to sentience. It has been a constant, a symbol of the enduring nature of life in the galaxy. But now..." Zara approached the fountain, her engineer's mind already working to understand its structure. "It's destabilizing," she murmured. "The energy flow is erratic. Has it always used light as a medium?" Tylo shook its head. "No. For millennia, it flowed with a substance we call lumen water, a fluid that glows and can be shaped by thought. But 5 cycles ago, the lumen water began to change into pure light. And now, even that is failing." A crowd of Xelnarians had gathered, watching Zara with a mixture of hope and suspicion. She could feel the weight of their expectations pressing down on her. This wasn't just a mechanical problem. It was a cultural touchstone, a piece of these people's identity. "I'll need to take a closer look," Zara said, pulling out her scanner. "Is it safe to approach?" Silo's skin flashed with concern. "We are not sure. None of our scientists have dared to approach too closely since the changes began." Zara took a deep breath. This was why she had been sent. Human curiosity and determination, the willingness to take risks in the pursuit of knowledge and progress. It was what had propelled humanity to the stars in a fraction of the time it had taken other species. "Well," she said with a grim smile, "there's only one way to find out." As Zara approached the fountain, her scanner began to emit a series of rapid beats. The energy readings were off the charts, unlike anything she had ever encountered. The light streams seemed to respond to her presence, twisting and curling in her direction. "Incredible," she breathed. "It's almost like it's alive." Suddenly, a beam of light shot out from the fountain, enveloping Zara. She heard gasps and cries from the watching Xelnarians, but she remained calm. The light didn't hurt. Instead, it felt like it was probing her, examining her at a molecular level. As quickly as it had appeared, the light retreated. Zara stumbled back, her mind reeling from the experience. "Engineer Reeves," Silo called out, rushing to her side. "Are you all right? What happened?" Zara blinked, trying to process what she had felt. "I'm fine, I think. But this isn't just a fountain or a machine. It's something more, something ancient and incredibly advanced." She turned to face the gathered Selnarians, her expression serious. "Your artifact. This heart of Zelnir. I don't think it's broken. I think it's waking up." A murmur rippled through the crowd. Xylo's skin pulsed with rapid patterns of light, reflecting its agitation. "Waking up? What do you mean?" Zara looked back at the fountain, its light streams now moving with more purpose, as if aware of her gaze. "I mean that this artifact, whatever its true purpose, has been dormant for thousands of years. And now, for some reason, it's becoming active again." She paused, considering her next words carefully. What she was about to say would likely not be received well, but she knew it needed to be said. "And I have a feeling that your people, advanced as you are, might not be the ones it was waiting for." The plaza fell silent, the implications of her words sinking in. Zara could feel the shift in the atmosphere, the mix of fear, anticipation, and resentment. She had come here to fix a machine, but she was quickly realizing that her task was far more complex and potentially far more dangerous than she had ever imagined. As the twin suns of Selnar Prime began to set, casting long shadows across the plaza, Zara knew that her real work was just beginning. Whatever secrets this ancient artifact held, whatever purpose it served, she was determined to uncover them. The fate of not just this world, but perhaps the entire galaxy, might depend on it. And as night fell on the alien world, the heart of Zelnar pulsed with a new rhythm, its light streams reaching out into the darkness like searching tendrils. Something ancient was stirring, and humanity, in the form of one determined engineer, was there to meet it, unveiling the past. The following days on Selnar Prime were a whirlwind of activity for Zara. The plaza surrounding the heart of Selnar had been cordoned off, with only a select group of Selnarian scientists and officials allowed to observe her work. The atmosphere was tense, a mixture of excitement and apprehension hanging in the air like a static charge. Zara had set up a makeshift lab around the perimeter of the fountain, her equipment a stark contrast to the flowing, organic designs of Selnarian technology. She worked tirelessly, running scan after scan, analyzing data streams, and attempting to decipher the complex energy patterns emitted by the artifact. "Any progress, Engineer Reeves?" Silo asked, approaching her workstation. The Selnarian's skin was a muted gray, reflecting the concerns shared by many of its people. Zara rubbed her tired eyes, gesturing to the holographic displays surrounding her. "Yes and no. I've managed to map out the energy flows within the artifact, but their purpose still eludes me. It's like trying to understand a language without any frame of reference." She pulled up a 3D model of the fountain, its intricate internal structure now visible. "See these conduits here? They're not just channeling energy, they're processing it somehow, changing its very nature. It's beyond anything I've ever encountered." Xylo's skin flickered with a pattern Zora had come to recognize as deep thought. Could it be weaponry? Some of our council members fear that awakening this device could bring destruction. Zara shook her head. "I don't think so. The energy output isn't consistent with any weapon I've ever seen. It's more like, well, like a beacon, or a key." "A key to what?" Tylo asked, its voice tinged with both curiosity and fear. Before Zara could respond, alarms blared from her equipment. The fountain's light streams had suddenly intensified, pulsing with a new urgency. Zara rushed to the artifact, her hands flying over her scanner. "It's accelerating," she shouted over the din. "The energy conversion is speeding up." The gathered Selnarians backed away, their skin flashing with patterns of alarm. But Zara stood her ground, her eyes fixed on the readings scrolling across her scanner. Suddenly, a beam of light shot out from the fountain, much like it had when Zara first approached. But this time, instead of enveloping her, it projected a series of complex, three-dimensional symbols into the air. It's a message, Zara breathed, her mind racing to comprehend what she was seeing. The symbols shifted and changed, forming patterns that seemed just on the edge of comprehension. Zara's scanner worked overtime, recording and analyzing the data stream. "Can you understand it?" Silo asked, cautiously approaching. Zara shook her head, frustration evident in her voice. "Not yet, but I think it's responding to our presence, to our attempts to communicate with it." As if in response to her words, the light beam suddenly retracted, and the fountain's glow dimmed to its previous state. The plaza fell silent, the only sound the soft hum of Zora's equipment. "What just happened?" one of the Selnarian officials demanded. Zara turned to face the gathered crowd, her expression a mixture of excitement and determination. "I believe we've just made first contact with the predecessors, or at least, with their technology." A murmur rippled through the crowd. Xilo's skin pulsed with rapid patterns of light. "But the predecessors have been gone for tens of thousands of years. How is this possible?" Zara gestured to the fountain. "This artifact, it's not just a relic. It's a living piece of technology, designed to wait, to watch, and to awaken when the right conditions are met. And for some reason, it's decided that now is the time." She paused, looking each of the Selnarians in the eye. "You've lived with this artifact for millennia, but you've never truly understood it. Your civilization grew around it, shaped by its presence, but always separate from it. But now, something's changed." One of the Selnarian scientists stepped forward, its skin a kaleidoscope of conflicting emotions. "What are you suggesting, Engineer Reeves?" Zara took a deep breath, knowing her next words would be controversial. "I'm suggesting that the arrival of humanity in this sector of space might be the catalyst that's awakening this technology. Our presence, our different approach to the universe, might be what it's been waiting for." The plaza erupted in a cacophony of voices and flashing bioluminescent patterns. Some Selnarians reacted with outrage, others with fascination. Silo raised its appendages, calling for calm. "These are merely theories," Silo said, its voice cutting through the noise. "We need more data, more time to understand what's happening." Zara nodded, grateful for Silo's support. "Agreed, but we also need to act quickly. The energy conversion is accelerating, and I don't know how long we have before it reaches some kind of critical point." She turned back to her equipment, her mind already racing with new ideas. "I need to modify my scanning equipment, try to decode that message. And we need to prepare for the possibility that this artifact might do more than just communicate. It might change things." As the Selnarians debated among themselves, Zara threw herself back into her work. She knew she was racing against time, trying to unlock the secrets of a civilization so advanced that their leftover technology was beyond comprehension. But as she worked, a small smile played on her lips. This was why she had become an engineer, why humanity had reached for the stars. The thrill of discovery, the challenge of the unknown. It was in her blood, in the very essence of what made her human. And as the heart of Zelnar pulsed behind her, its light streams twisting in complex patterns, Zara knew that she stood on the brink of a discovery that could change the course of galactic history. Whatever the predecessors had left behind, whatever message they were trying to convey, she was determined to understand it. The fate of not just Selmar Prime, but perhaps the entire galaxy rested in her hands. And Zara Reeves, human engineer, was ready for the challenge. The looming threat. As days stretched into weeks, Zora's makeshift lab around the heart of Selnar grew more complex. Holographic displays flickered with streams of data, and jury-rigged devices of human and Selnarian design hummed in harmony. The plaza had become a hive of activity, with scientists from both species working tirelessly to unravel the artifact's mysteries. Zara stood at the center of it all, her eyes fixed on a holographic representation of the message they'd received. Dark circles under her eyes betrayed her lack of sleep, but the fire of determination still burned bright in her gaze. "There," she muttered, manipulating the hologram with deft movements. "That sequence repeats. It's not random." Dilo glided to her side, its skin pulsing with a mix of curiosity and concern. "You've found a pattern." Zara nodded, her excitement palpable. "More than that. I think I've cracked part of their language. Look here." She highlighted a series of symbols. "This sequence appears every time the energy output of the fountain peaks. I think it's a warning." "A warning?" Silo's skin flashed with alarm. "Of what?" Before Zara could answer, a tremor shook the ground. The light streams from the fountain surged, their intensity nearly blinding. Zara's equipment blared with alarms, readings spiking off the charts. "Everyone, clear the area," Zara shouted, rushing towards the artifact. The Xelnarians scattered, their skin flashing with patterns of fear and confusion. As Zara reached the base of the fountain, a beam of light shot out, enveloping her once again. But this time, instead of the gentle probe she'd felt before, it was like being plunged into an ocean of information. Images, sensations, and concepts flooded her mind, almost overwhelming in their intensity. She saw vast starships, larger than anything humanity had ever built. Worlds transformed, their very foundations reshaped by technology beyond imagination. And behind it all, a looming darkness, a threat so immense it defied comprehension. As suddenly as it began, the deluge of information ceased. Zara fell to her knees, gasping for breath. Silo was at her side in an instant, supporting her. "Engineer Reeves, are you all right? What happened?" Zara looked up, her eyes wide with the weight of what she'd seen. "I understand now," she whispered. "The warning, the purpose of this artifact. It's not just a beacon. It's a safeguard." She struggled to her feet, her mind racing to process the information she received. The predecessors, they weren't just an advanced civilization. They were the guardians of this galaxy, and they left this technology behind to prepare for their return. Return. Silo's skin pulsed with confusion. But they've been gone for millennia. Why would they return now? Zara's expression grew grim. "Because something is coming. Something they've been fighting. Something they've been holding back. And now, it's found its way to our galaxy." The plaza fell silent, the weight of her words sinking in. Zara turned to the gathered scientists, her voice ringing out with urgency. "We don't have much time. The artifact is transforming, preparing itself. But it's not just changing itself. It's going to change the planet, maybe even the entire star system." One of the Xelnarian officials stepped forward, its skin a riot of conflicting patterns. "Change how? What's going to happen to our world?" Zara shook her head, frustration evident in her voice. "I'm not entirely sure. The information, it's too much, too complex. I saw glimpses of technology beyond anything we've ever imagined. Planetary engineering on a scale that defies belief." She gestured to the fountain, its light streams now pulsing with an almost frantic energy. "This artifact, it's not just a communication device or a power source. It's a seed planted by the predecessors. And now, it's about to bloom." Panic began to spread through the crowd. Silo raised its appendages, calling for calm. "What can we do? How do we stop this?" Zara's expression hardened with determination. "We don't stop it. We help it." A chorus of protests erupted from the Xelnarians. Zara raised her voice to be heard over the din. "Listen to me. The predecessors left this technology here for a reason. They're trying to prepare us, to give us a fighting chance against whatever's coming. If we try to stop it, we're doing not just ourselves, but potentially the entire galaxy." She turned to her workstation, pulling up diagrams and readouts. "We need to stabilize the energy flow, guide the transformation. If we do this right, we might be able to control the process, minimize the damage to your world." Silo's skin flickered with a pattern Zara had come to recognize as deep thought. "And if we do nothing?" Zara's eyes met Silo's, her gaze unflinching. Then the transformation happens anyway, but uncontrolled. Your world could be torn apart. A heavy silence fell over the plaza. The Xelnarians looked to each other, their skin flashing in silent communication. Finally, the lead official stepped forward. "What do you need from us, Engineer Reeves?" Zara felt a weight lift from her shoulders. She hadn't realized how much she'd come to care for these aliens, how invested she'd become in their world. "Everything you've got," she said, a small smile playing on her lips despite the gravity of the situation. "We're about to attempt the biggest engineering project in the history of your species, possibly in the history of the galaxy." As the Xelnarians mobilized, bringing in resources and personnel, Zara turned back to the heart of Selnar. Its light streams seemed to reach out to her, as if acknowledging her understanding. "I hope you know what you're doing," she murmured to the ancient artifact, "because we're putting a lot of faith in you." The fountain pulsed in response, its light growing steadier, more focused. And as Zara watched, she could have sworn she saw patterns in the light that looked almost like a smile. The next phase had begun. The fate of Selnar Prime, and perhaps the entire galaxy, now rested in the hands of one human engineer and the legacy of an ancient, long-lost civilization. The clock was ticking, and the true test was yet to come. Race against time. The once serene plaza surrounding the heart of Selnar had transformed into a bustling command center. Holographic displays flickered with constant updates, and the air hummed with the sound of machinery and urgent voices. At the center of it all stood Zora, her face illuminated by the pulsing light of the ancient artifact. "Redirect power to the northern conduit," she called out, her fingers dancing across a control panel. "We need to balance the energy flow, or the whole system will destabilize." Xelnarian technicians rushed to comply, their skin flashing with patterns of concentration and urgency. Silo stood beside Zara, relaying her instructions to the teams spread across the city. "The planetary defense grid is online," Silo reported, its skin pulsing with a mix of excitement and trepidation. "But we're detecting anomalies in the upper atmosphere. The transformation is spreading faster than we anticipated." Zara nodded grimly, her eyes never leaving the red house before her. "It's not just the planet that's changing. The artifact is tapping into the star itself. We're dealing with stellar engineering on a scale I can barely comprehend." A tremor shook the ground, stronger than any before. In the distance, a sound like thunder rolled across the sky. Zora looked up to see the twin suns of Selmar Prime flickering, their light dimming and brightening in an erratic dance. "Status report," she called out, fighting to keep the panic from her voice. One of the Xelnarian scientists approached, its skin a kaleidoscope of worried patterns. "The planet's core is destabilizing. Tectonic activity is off the charts. If we can't contain this soon, we'll be looking at global catastrophe." Zara's mind raced, processing the flood of information. The artifact was reshaping the entire star system, preparing it for something. But the process was too fast, too violent. If they couldn't control it, Selnar Prime would be torn apart. "We need to slow it down," she muttered, more to herself than anyone else. "Buy ourselves some time to guide the transformation." An idea struck her, dangerous and desperate. She turned to Silo, her eyes blazing with determination. "The artifact responded to me before. It shared information, tried to communicate. Maybe I can communicate back." Silo's skin flashed with alarm. "You want to interface directly with the heart of Selnar. The energy levels are beyond anything we've ever measured. It could kill you." Zara managed a grim smile. "Maybe. But if we do nothing, we're all dead anyway. Sometimes you have to take risks to save lives. That's what being human is all about." Before anyone could stop her, Zara strode towards the pulsing fountain. The light streams seemed to reach out to her, twisting and curling in anticipation. She took a deep breath, steadying herself, then reached out and plunged her hand into the stream of pure energy. The world exploded into light and sensation. Zara felt herself falling, tumbling through an ocean of information and possibility. Glimpses of alien worlds, of technologies beyond imagination, flashed through her mind. And behind it all, a presence, ancient, vast, and undeniably alive. Please, Zora thought, focusing all her will into the plea. You're destroying the world you're trying to save. We need more time. For a moment, there was no response. Then, like a tidal wave crashing over her, came an answer. Not in words, but in pure concept and emotion. Understanding. Apology. And then, adjustment. In the physical world, Zora's body convulsed, energy crackling around her. The Selnarians watched in horror, unable to approach due to the intense energy field. Suddenly, the light streams retracted. Zora collapsed to the ground, smoke rising from her clothes. Silo rushed to her side, cradling her head. Engineer Reeves, can you hear me? Zora's eyes fluttered open, unfocused at first, then sharpening with realization. It worked, she croaked, her voice hoarse. Check the readings. Tylo glanced at the nearest display, its skin lighting up with astonishment. The energy levels, they're stabilizing. The tectonic activity is subsiding. How? Zora managed a weak smile. I asked nicely, and it listened. As the Selnarians rushed to confirm the new readings, Zora struggled to her feet with Silo's help. The plaza was a mess of tangled equipment and scattered datapads, but the heart of Zelnar stood serene at its center, its light now a steady, pulsing glow. We've bought ourselves some time, Zora said, her voice growing stronger. But we're not out of the woods yet. The transformation is still happening. Just more gently now. One of the Selnarian officials approached, its skin flickering with a mix of relief and lingering fear. What happens now, Engineer Reeves? Zora's gaze turned to the horizon, where the twin suns of Selmar Prime were beginning to set. Now we guide the change. We work with the artifact, not against it. And we prepare. Prepare for what? Silo asked, though from its tone, it seemed to already know the answer. Zora's expression was grim but determined. For whatever's coming. The threat the predecessors were fighting. It's found its way here, and we need to be ready when it arrives. As night fell on Selmar Prime, the city glowed with an otherworldly light. The transformation continued, but now under the watchful eyes of human and Selnarian alike. The heart of Zelnar pulsed steadily, a beacon of hope in the gathering darkness. Zora knew that the hardest part of their journey was yet to come, but as she looked around at the determination on the faces of her alien colleagues, she felt a surge of hope. Together, they had faced the impossible and survived. Whatever the future held, they would face it united. The race against time had been won, but the true battle was just beginning. Triumph of Ingenuity. Months had passed since the fateful day when Zora had communed with the heart of Selnar. The transformation of the planet continued, but at a pace that allowed for adaptation and guidance. The skyline of the Selnarian capital had changed dramatically, with new structures of impossible geometry rising alongside the familiar crystalline spires. Zara stood on a balcony overlooking the plaza, her eyes tracing the intricate patterns of light that now flowed through the streets like rivers. The air hummed with energy, a constant reminder of the profound changes taking place. Quite a view, isn't it? Silo said, gliding up beside her. The Selnarian's skin pulsed with a soft, contented glow. Zara nodded, a small smile playing on her lips. Sometimes I still can't believe we pulled it off. We. Silo's skin flickered with amusement. You're the one who talked to an ancient alien artifact and convinced it to slow down. Zara chuckled, but her expression quickly turned serious. We all played our part. Your people's willingness to adapt, to embrace change. That's what really saved this world. Below them, teams of humans and Selnarians worked side by side, integrating new technologies spawned by the heart of Selnar with existing systems. The cooperation between the two species had deepened in ways no one could have predicted. The latest reports from the outer system are in. Silo said, its tone becoming more formal. The transformation has reached the gas giants. The predecessor technology is reshaping them. Zara nodded, unsurprised. Into what? We're not entirely sure, Tylo admitted, but based on the energy signatures, they appear to be weapons or shields, possibly both. A chill ran down Zora's spine. The threat that the predecessors had fought against, the danger they had prepared for, it was coming. And despite all their progress, she couldn't shake the feeling that they were still woefully unprepared. As if reading her thoughts, Silo's skin pulsed with a pattern of reassurance. We've made more progress in these few months than in millennia of our history. Thanks to you, we have a fighting chance. Zara was about to respond when an alarm blared from her comm device. She activated it, and a holographic display sprang to life, showing a schematic of the Selmar system. What is it? Silo asked, its skin flickering with concern. Zara's eyes widened as she interpreted the data. Something's entered the system. Something big. They rushed to the command center, now a fusion of Selnarian aesthetics and predecessor technology. The main display showed a massive object approaching from the outer reaches of the system, its size dwarfing even the gas giants. Is it? Tylo began, unable to finish the question. Zara shook her head, her expression a mix of awe and relief. No, I don't think so. The energy signature, it's similar to the heart of Selnar, but on a much larger scale. As they watched, the object slowed its approach, coming to a stop just beyond the orbit of the outermost planet. Then it began to change, unfolding like a flower blooming in fast motion. In moments, it had transformed into a structure of impossible complexity, a space station larger than any ever conceived. A beam of light shot out from the station, connecting with the heart of Selnar. The fountain's glow intensified, and Zara felt a familiar sensation, the brush of an ancient consciousness against her mind. They're back, she whispered, understanding flooding through her. The predecessors. They've returned. The command center erupted into a flurry of activity. As the Selnarians scrambled to make sense of what was happening, Zara felt a strange calm settle over her. This was what they had been preparing for, what the heart of Selnar had been guiding them towards. A new hologram appeared in the center of the room. A figure, humanoid but clearly alien, its form composed of swirling energy patterns. When it spoke, its voice seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. Greetings, children of Selnar, and to you, Zara Reeves of Earth. We have watched your progress with great interest. You have faced the trials we set before you with courage and ingenuity. Now the time has come for us to stand together against the darkness that threatens all life in this galaxy. Zara stepped forward, her heart pounding but her voice steady. We're ready. Tell us what we need to do. The predecessor's form shimmered, and Zara could have sworn she saw a smile in its swirling patterns. You have already begun. The seeds we planted have flourished under your care, growing into something new and wonderful. Together, we will forge a future brighter than any single race could achieve alone. As the predecessor began to outline the challenges that lay ahead, Zara felt a surge of hope and determination. She looked around the room, seeing the same emotions reflected in the glowing patterns of the Selnarian skin and the set jaws of her fellow humans. They had faced the impossible and triumphed. They had taken ancient technology and made it their own. And now, standing shoulder to shoulder with the legendary predecessors, they were ready to defend not just Selnar Prime, not just Earth, but the entire galaxy. Zara Reeves, the human engineer who had unlocked the secrets of the heart of Selnar, smiled. Whatever the future held, she knew one thing for certain. Humanity's ingenuity, combined with the wisdom of the Selnarians and the power of the predecessors, was a force that no darkness could hope to stand against. The true adventure was just beginning, and Zara couldn't wait to see what wonders and challenges lay ahead. As the briefing continued, the heart of Selnar pulsed with a steady, hopeful rhythm, a beacon of light in the vast expanse of space. The galaxy held its breath, poised on the brink of a new era. And at the center of it all stood a human engineer, proof that sometimes the most extraordinary changes can come from the most unexpected places. The end? Or perhaps just the beginning.